Family dinners at my parents' house always had a familiar rhythm. Mom fussing over the food, making sure everyone had a full plate before she sat down. Dad mostly quiet, nodding along to conversations, but never leading them. My sister, Haley, sitting across from me, sipping her wine like she had all the secrets in the world. And then there was Ryan, my husband, the man I had loved, trusted, and built a life with. Looking at them now, sitting side by side, I felt my stomach turn. Their eyes never met, but that was the problem. They were trying too hard not to look at each other. I ran my fingers over the rim of my wine glass, trying to slow the shaking in my hands. The weight of the secret I was about to drop sat heavy in my chest. The past week had been hell. The proof sat on my phone, in screenshots and photos that made my skin crawl. I had stared at them for hours, memorized every disgusting detail. Ryan, my husband, in a hotel room with Haley. My sister. I had played this dinner out in my mind over and over. Imagined different ways to do it. A casual comment over mashed potatoes. A full-blown screaming match before the bread rolls even hit the table. Or maybe I'd just get up, toss my drink in Ryan's face, and walk out. No, I wanted them exposed. I wanted them squirming in their seats, under the disappointed, horrified stares of our family. I wanted them to feel the burn of betrayal as deeply as I had. So I waited. Mom chatted about some new neighbors. Dad grumbled about the latest football game. My younger brother, Jason, cracked jokes in between stuffing his face with cornbread. The usual. But I barely heard any of it. Haley laughed at something Ryan said. Her laugh. That high, airy giggle she always did when she wanted attention. And I snapped. I set my fork down carefully, too carefully, and cleared my throat. So, Haley, I said, keeping my voice light, how's dating been going for you? She blinked, thrown off for a second. It's fine, I guess. She tucked her blonde hair behind her ear, not looking at me. I mean, I'm just curious, I continued, tilting my head. You've been awfully busy lately. Late nights, disappearing on weekends. I let my gaze flick over to Ryan. He tensed, his grip tightening on his fork. Haley shrugged. Just seeing someone. It's nothing serious. I smiled. Perfect. Oh, I leaned forward, resting my chin on my hand. So it wouldn't be, say, my husband? Silence. The kind of silence that drowns a room. The kind that sucks the air right out of people's lungs. Mom's spoon clattered onto her plate. Dad's brows shot up. Jason actually stopped chewing, which was a miracle in itself. Haley's face drained of color, her lips parting, but no words came out. Ryan, the lying bastard, had the nerve to act confused. Babe, what are you talking about? I scoffed. Don't even try it. I yanked my phone from my pocket, tapping on the album I had prepared. I slid it across the table, right between my parents, making sure everyone could see. Photos, screenshots, messages. Ryan in that damn hotel room. Haley slipping inside. A text from him saying, can't wait to see you tonight. Same room as last time. Mom's hands flew to her mouth. Dad's face darkened, his grip tightening around his knife. Jason, ever the wild card, let out a low whistle. Holy shit. I turned to Haley, my voice steady, cold. How long? She swallowed, eyes darting around like she was looking for an escape. I don't know what. How long? I repeated, louder this time. Ryan exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples like he was the victim here. Look, it's not. Shut up. I didn't even look at him. My eyes stayed locked on her. The sister who was supposed to have my back. The sister who had spent years pretending to love me. Answer the question. Haley sucked in a breath, her eyes shiny with unshed tears. 6 months. A sharp, ugly laugh escaped my throat. 6 months. I let out a low, bitter chuckle, shaking my head. Unbelievable. Mom's voice came out in a whisper. Haley, why? Tears finally spilled down her face, but I didn't give a damn. I don't know, she croaked. It just happened. Oh, it just happened. I threw my hands up. You accidentally tripped and landed in a hotel bed with my husband? Ryan stood up, running a hand through his hair. Look, I know this is bad, but we didn't mean to hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt me? I shoved my chair back, the legs scraping loudly against the floor. You two have been sneaking around for 6 months, lying to me, sleeping together behind my back, and you didn't mean to hurt me? The room stayed silent, the weight of my words pressing down on everyone. Mom looked like she might faint. Dad clenched his jaw so tight I thought his teeth might crack. Jason, still in shock, muttered under his breath, "Jesus Christ." I crossed my arms, heart pounding but voice steady. "You two disgust me." Haley wiped at her tears, sniffling. "Please, don't do this here. Not in front of Mom and Dad." "Oh, now you care about them?" I let out a bitter laugh. "You didn't seem to give a damn when you were screwing my husband." Ryan had the audacity to reach for my hand. "Babe, let's just go home and—" I snatched my hand away like his touch burned. "We're not going home, Ryan, because I don't have a home with you anymore." He flinched like I had slapped him. I turned back to Haley. "And you're dead to me." Her face crumpled, but I didn't care. The silence that followed was golden. I grabbed my purse, my keys, and without another word, walked out of that house. I didn't look back. I don't remember much about the drive home. My hands were tight on the steering wheel, knuckles white, my breathing sharp and uneven. My heart was still hammering from a scene I had just caused, but I didn't regret a damn thing. If anything, I wished I had gone harder. Maybe flipped the table, tossed a plate of mashed potatoes in Haley's face. The betrayal was sitting heavy in my chest, like a weight pressing down on my ribs, making it hard to breathe. 6 months. That number kept repeating in my head, over and over, like a cruel little chant. While I had been waking up next to Ryan, kissing him goodnight, planning vacations, and thinking about our future, he had been sleeping with my sister. My sister. I gritted my teeth and pressed harder on the gas. The second I got home, I slammed the door behind me and just stood there. My house. The home I had built with Ryan. Everything around me screamed us. The photos on the walls, the blankets we picked out together, the coffee mugs we had argued over in Target. It all felt like a lie now. I let out a shaky breath and grabbed the framed picture of our wedding day from the table by the door. My fingers hovered over the glass. The way he looked at me in that photo, like I was the love of his life, like I was the only woman in the world. I threw it. The sound of shattering glass was like music. The frame broke into pieces, the photo landing face down on the floor. I wiped my hands over my face, trying to steady myself, but the rage was still bubbling, boiling just beneath the surface. I needed to do something. I needed to get him out of my life, out of this house, as soon as possible. Ryan started calling about 10 minutes after I left the dinner. I ignored every single one. Then came the texts. I stared at the words on my screen, my grip tightening around my phone. Work through this. What the hell was there to work through? He didn't trip and fall into bed with Haley. He made a choice. Over and over again, for half a year. He had looked me in the eyes every single day, kissed me, told me he loved me, all while sleeping with my sister. I shoved my phone away before I could smash it against the wall. Instead, I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started shoving his clothes inside. Shirt after shirt, pants, socks, anything I could grab. I didn't care if I packed it right. I didn't care if I left something behind. I just wanted him gone. Halfway through, I grabbed one of his hoodies, the gray one I used to steal when I was cold. It still smelled like him. My stomach twisted. I threw it in the bag like it was toxic. Another knock at the door. I already knew who it was. I yanked it open so hard it nearly swung off the hinges. And there he was. Ryan. His eyes were wide, desperate, like a kicked puppy. His hands were shoved into his jacket pockets, like he wasn't sure what to do with them. "Baby," he breathed. "Please, just let me in. Let's talk." I crossed my arms over my chest, blocking the doorway. "There's nothing to talk about." His face crumpled. "Come on. Don't do this." I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "Don't do this." I stepped closer, jabbing a finger into his chest. "You slept with my sister, Ryan. You did this." He exhaled, shaking his head. I know. I fucked up." "That's an understatement." "But I love you." His voice cracked. I love you, not her. It was a mistake. I clenched my jaw so tight it hurt. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. A mistake is burning dinner. 6 months of sneaking around behind my back is not a mistake. His eyes darted past me, into the house, like he could still walk inside, like he still belonged there. Can we sit down and talk? Please. I stepped back and grabbed the duffel bag from the couch. I shoved it into his chest, so hard he had to stumble back to catch it. There's your shit, I said. Now leave. He blinked, stunned. What? You're not staying here. My voice was ice. Go stay at a hotel. Go stay with Haley, since you seem to like her bed so much. His face twisted, like he wanted to argue, like he had some grand excuse prepared, but I wasn't interested in hearing a damn word. Go, I said, my voice deadly quiet. For a second, I thought he was going to fight me on it, but something in my expression must have told him it was useless, because he swallowed hard, clenched his jaw, and gave a stiff nod. Fine. And just like that, he turned and walked away. I watched as he loaded his bag into his car, hesitating before opening the door, like he was waiting for me to call him back, like I would change my mind. I didn't. He got in, drove away, and just like that, it was over. Or at least, I thought it was. Because not even 10 minutes after Ryan left, my phone rang again. This time, it was Haley. I stared at the screen, her name flashing like a curse. My whole body tensed. Of course she would call. Of course she would try to explain herself. Like there was any excuse in the world for what she did. I let it ring. Then, out of sheer spite, I answered. I didn't even give her a chance to speak. I hope it was worth it, I said, my voice cutting and sharp. Silence. A shaky breath on the other end of the line. Then, I didn't mean to hurt you, Haley whispered. I closed my eyes, feeling the fury rise in my chest again. Oh, you didn't mean to? That makes it so much better. It just happened, she said weakly. I gritted my teeth. Do not say that bullshit to me again. Another pause. Then her voice, so small I barely heard it. I miss you. Something in me snapped. I laughed. Actually laughed. A bitter, broken sound. You miss me. My hands clenched into fists. You ruined my marriage, destroyed our family, and now you miss me. She let out a choked sob. I don't know how to fix this. You can't. My voice shook. And I'll never forgive you for this. Ever. I hung up, blocked her number. Then I sat on the floor, surrounded by broken glass and shattered memories, and let myself cry. I woke up the next morning feeling like I had been hit by a truck. My eyes were puffy, my head throbbed, and my throat was raw from all the yelling and crying. I had barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Haley and Ryan, sneaking around, whispering, laughing behind my back. I saw the proof on my phone, the texts, the pictures, the hotel receipts. It played in my mind like a sick movie I couldn't turn off. The reality of it all sat heavy in my chest. I didn't have a husband anymore. I didn't have a sister anymore. I dragged myself out of bed and into the kitchen. Coffee. I needed coffee before I could even begin to process what my next move was. But as soon as I sat down with my mug, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen, expecting another desperate message from Ryan. But it wasn't him. It was Mom. My stomach twisted. I hadn't spoken to her since I dropped the bomb at dinner and walked out. I had no idea what she was thinking, how she had processed the truth, or worse, if she was about to beg me to forgive Haley. I let the phone ring. Then, against my better judgment, I answered. Hello. Oh, honey. Mom's voice was soft, cautious, like she was afraid I might shatter. Are you okay? A bitter laugh bubbled up in my throat. Not really. She let out a sigh. I don't even know what to say. Then don't say anything. There was a pause. Then quieter. Haley called me last night. I clenched my jaw. Of course she did. She's a mess, Mom said, like that was somehow my problem. She was crying so hard, I could barely understand her. She said she never wanted to hurt you. Too late for that, I muttered, gripping my coffee mug so tightly I thought it might crack. Mom hesitated. She's begging for your forgiveness. I scoffed. Not happening. She's your sister. She was my sister, I corrected coldly. Now, she's just a woman who slept with my husband. Mom was silent for a moment, then sighed. I don't know how we come back from this. We don't, I said simply. She made her choice. Ryan made his, and I made mine. I understand, she said softly, but something about her tone made my stomach tighten. Do you? There was another pause. I don't want to lose either of my daughters. There it was. I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. You already did, I said. The second she betrayed me like that, she stopped being my sister. She doesn't get to just cry and pretend it never happened. I know, Mom said quickly. I know that. But I don't know what to do. That makes two of us. I wanted to be angry at her. I wanted to scream that she needed to pick a side, my side. But deep down, I knew this was tearing her apart too. She loved both of us. She didn't ask for this mess any more than I did. Still, I wasn't in the mood to be understanding. I let out a breath. Mom, I need space. Please. She hesitated, then finally said, Okay. I hung up before she could say anything else. I had just started cleaning up the broken glass from last night when there was a knock at my door. I frowned. I wasn't expecting anyone. Peeking through the peephole, I let out a sigh. Jason. I opened the door and gave him a look. What do you want? My younger brother held up a six-pack of beer. To get you drunk and talk shit about our whore of a sister. I snorted despite myself and stepped aside. Come in. Jason wasn't the emotional type. He had always been the laid-back, sarcastic one, the guy who never took anything too seriously. But when he sat down on my couch, his face was hard. Serious. I can't believe she did this to you, he muttered, cracking open a beer. Yeah, I said, leaning back against the cushions. Join the club. He took a long swig, then shook his head. I always knew Ryan was a dick, but Haley? He let out a humorless laugh. That's some next-level betrayal. I grabbed a beer and took a sip. You're telling me. Jason set his bottle down and looked at me. So what now? I swallowed. Divorce. Obviously. Good. His jaw tightened. And Haley. I hesitated, then shook my head. She's dead to me. Jason nodded slowly, as if he had been expecting that answer. You know she called me too, right? I frowned. Seriously? Yeah. Around midnight. Crying, begging me to talk to you. Saying she screwed up, but she loves you and doesn't want to lose you. I let out a bitter laugh. She should have thought about that before screwing my husband. Jason ran a hand through his hair. I told her to fuck off. Something in my chest loosened just a little. Good. She's got Mom feeling guilty as hell, he added. Dad's pissed, though. That caught my attention. Really? Oh, yeah, Jason said with a smirk. After you left last night, he lit into her. Said she was a disgrace. That he didn't raise her to be a homewrecker. She was bawling. I blinked, caught off guard. Dad said that. Jason nodded. Never seen him so mad. I think he's more disgusted with her than Ryan. Something about that sent a strange mix of emotions through me. I had expected my parents to be upset, sure, but hearing that my dad had actually defended me, that he had stood up and called Haley out for what she did, made something warm flicker inside me. At least someone in my family had my back. Jason finished his beer and stretched. Anyway, you want to key Ryan's car? I'm down. I snorted. Tempting. Or I could beat his ass. Jason offered. Been meaning to for years. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't help smiling. Appreciate the enthusiasm. Jason smirked, then grew serious again. You gonna be okay? I exhaled. Eventually. He nodded. Good. Because neither of those assholes deserve to have you falling apart over them. I swallowed the lump in my throat and gave him a small smile. Thanks, Jace. He bumped my shoulder lightly. Anytime. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt just a little less alone. I woke up to another message from Haley. Please talk to me. I need to see you. I stared at the screen. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I had told myself I was done, that she was dead to me. But some sick, twisted part of me wanted to look her in the face, to see if she could even say the words "I'm sorry" without choking on them. So I texted back, "Coffee shop, 3 p.m. One chance." When I walked in, she was already there, sitting in the corner, clutching a mug with both hands. She looked awful pale, dark circles under her eyes, her usual perfect makeup smudged like she'd been crying for days. "Good." She looked up as I approached, her face breaking into something desperate, relieved. But I just slid into the chair across from her and folded my arms. I said nothing. She swallowed hard. "Thank you for coming." I tilted my head. "Say what you need to say." Her lip trembled. "I don't even know where to start." "Start with why." My voice came out flat. She flinched, fingers tightening around her mug. "I don't know. I was lonely. I was jealous." I let out a sharp laugh. "Jealous? Of me?" Her eyes were glassy. "You had everything. The perfect husband, the perfect life. And I was a mess. Ryan was there. She hesitated, looking down. "He made me feel wanted." A cold, ugly feeling spread through my chest. "Wanted?" My voice dropped lower. "You mean he fucked you?" She closed her eyes like the words physically hurt. "I swear, I didn't mean for it to happen." I leaned forward, my nails digging into my palms. "You didn't mean for it to happen the first time. Maybe. But the second? The third? The 6th month? Don't sit here and act like it just happened. You chose this." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but I felt nothing. Not an ounce of sympathy. "I hate myself," she whispered. "I miss you. I miss my sister." I exhaled sharply and shook my head. "Your sister? Your sister? You don't get to call me that anymore." She let out a quiet sob. "Please. I'll do anything. I'll make this right." I stared at her, feeling nothing but exhaustion. "You can't. Some things can't be fixed, Haley." Her whole body shuddered, her hands shaking. "Do you really mean that?" I nodded once, slow and final. "I do." Her breath hitched, her face crumpling like she had just been punched in the gut. And maybe she had, in a way. But that was her cross to bear. She destroyed us, and I was done letting her weigh me down with her guilt. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and looked her dead in the eye. I hope it was worth it. Then I walked out and didn't look back. I didn't cry on the way home. I thought maybe I would, that some part of me would break after walking away from Haley for good. But all I felt was empty, hollow, like she had drained the last bit of energy I had left. I should have felt relief, maybe even satisfaction, but all I could do was grip the steering wheel and stare straight ahead, letting the weight of everything settle over me. I had cut her off. I had walked away. And still, somehow, it didn't feel like enough. When I got home, I found Ryan sitting on the porch steps, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. His car was parked at the curb, the duffel bag I'd thrown at him still in the passenger seat. He looked up when I slammed my car door shut, his face tired, eyes bloodshot. I didn't slow down, didn't acknowledge him. I walked straight to the front door, but before I could unlock it, he was on his feet. "Wait." I froze, my fingers tightening around my keys. "Please," he said, his voice rough. "Just talk to me. One last time." I exhaled sharply, debating whether to tell him to go to hell and walk inside. But I had done that to Haley, and it hadn't felt like enough. Maybe I needed this, needed to look him in the face, and hear whatever pathetic excuse he had left before I buried him and Haley both in the past, where they belonged. I turned, crossing my arms. "Talk." His shoulders sagged in relief, like he hadn't expected me to give him the chance. "I don't even know where to start." I let out a humorless laugh. "You can start with why." He dragged a hand down his face, shaking his head. "I don't know. I was stupid. Selfish. I didn't." He stopped, his jaw tightening. "I didn't want to hurt you." I scoffed. "You didn't want to hurt me? That's rich. You spent 6 months lying to my face, sneaking around with my own sister. You don't get to act like you gave a damn about me, Ryan." He winced like I had slapped him. "I did love you," he whispered. "I still do." I stared at him, my stomach twisting. "Then why?" My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. He swallowed hard, his hands balling into fists. "Because I felt like I was losing you." I blinked. What? He let out a shaky breath. You were always so put together. So independent. I felt like you didn't need me anymore. Like I was just there. He shook his head, looking at the ground. And then Haley. She made me feel wanted. Like I was important. A sharp, bitter laugh escaped my lips. So you slept with my sister because I wasn't needy enough for you? Are you hearing yourself? I know it sounds pathetic, he muttered. Because it is pathetic. I was insecure, and I let that push me into making the worst mistake of my life. He finally looked up, his eyes pleading. But I swear, it never meant more than that. I never stopped loving you. I stared at him, my chest aching with something I couldn't name. Maybe because some part of me had wanted to believe he would at least have a better reason than that. Maybe because, for all his words, he still wasn't sorry for the right reasons. He was just sorry he got caught. I took a deep breath and shook my head. I don't care anymore, Ryan. I really don't. He stiffened. So that's it. Just like that. I shrugged. What else is there to say? He opened his mouth, then closed it, his eyes darting away. He had nothing. No more lies. No more excuses. Just silence. Good. I turned back to the door and unlocked it. Before stepping inside, I spoke without looking at him. Don't come back. He didn't try to stop me. And for the second time in 2 days, I walked away from someone who had once meant the world to me. I didn't sleep that night. Even with Ryan finally gone, with Haley cut out of my life, my mind wouldn't shut off. The house felt emptier than ever. It was too quiet, too still, and every time I rolled over, I swore I could hear Ryan's voice echoing in my head. I never stopped loving you. What a joke. What a sick, pathetic excuse for what he did. And Haley, I miss you. I hate myself. Good. She should. They both should. But it didn't change anything. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I spent the next few hours going through the house, collecting every trace of Ryan, his clothes, his shoes, his stupid aftershave that still sat on the bathroom counter like he might walk back in at any second. I packed it all up in garbage bags, tossing them onto the curb like the trash they were. Wedding photos? Gone. Anniversary cards? Shredded. The little love notes he used to leave me on the fridge? Burned. By the time I was done, the house still felt empty, but at least now it was mine. I had barely dropped onto the couch, exhausted, when my phone buzzed. Mom. Again. I sighed, debating whether to ignore it, but I knew she wouldn't stop. I swiped to answer. Hi, Mom. She hesitated. How are you? Tired. Another pause. Then softer. Ryan came to see me. I rubbed my temples. Of course he did. He told me what he said to you, she continued, about feeling like he was losing you. I rolled my eyes. And I think he's full of shit. That caught me off guard. Wait, what? Mom sighed. Sweetheart, I've been married to your father for over 30 years. If a man loves you, he doesn't cheat on you because he feels insecure. He talks to you. He works through it with you. He doesn't run to your sister's bed. For the first time in days, my throat tightened with something other than anger. So, you're not telling me to forgive him? Absolutely not, she said firmly. Or Haley, for that matter. I swallowed hard, gripping the phone. But you don't want to lose either of us. She let out a heavy breath. No, I don't. But I also don't expect you to just pretend this didn't happen. That would be unfair to you. I pressed my fingers against my eyes. I don't know how to move forward from this. One day at a time, honey. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Thanks, Mom. I love you. I love you too. When I hung up, I let out a slow breath. It didn't fix anything. It didn't erase what Haley had done, but at least I knew I wasn't crazy for feeling like this was unforgivable. A knock at the door made me jump. My stomach clenched, thinking it was Ryan again, but when I peeked through the peephole, I exhaled. Jason. I swung the door open, giving him a look. You're back. He held up a bottle of whiskey. Round 2. I snorted, stepping aside to let him in. You just want an excuse to drink, don't you? Maybe, he said, flopping onto the couch. But mostly, I want to make sure you're not sitting here spiraling. I joined him, grabbing 2 glasses. I'm fine. You say that, but you look like you've gone 12 rounds with a mental breakdown. I shot him a glare, but he just smirked. So what's the plan? He asked, pouring the drinks. The plan? For moving on. He leaned back, watching me. You know, since you're officially husband-free. I let out a long breath. I don't know. Get a lawyer. Finalize the divorce. Maybe take a trip somewhere. Clear my head. Jason raised his glass. Now that is a plan I can get behind. We clinked glasses, and for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt okay. Not good, not great, but okay. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. Because I was done crying, done hurting, and I was finally ready to move the hell on. A year passed. A whole year since I stood at that family dinner and tore my life apart with the truth. Some days, it felt like it had been a lifetime ago. Other days, I could still hear the echo of Haley's voice, begging for my forgiveness. Still see the way Ryan looked at me when he realized he had finally lost me for good. But those moments came less and less now, fading like an old scar, one that still existed, but no longer bled. The divorce was finalized 6 months ago. Ryan tried, of course, tried to win me back, tried to reason with me, but I shut him down every time. He stopped reaching out eventually, and I heard through Jason that he moved out of state. Good riddance. Haley, well, she wasn't doing great. Not that I cared. Mom kept me updated at first, but I told her to stop. I didn't need to hear about how my sister was remorseful, or how she was struggling with what she did. She made her choice. Now she had to live with it. Last I heard, she wasn't even with Ryan anymore. Turns out, stolen love doesn't last. As for me, I was doing better than I ever thought I would. I moved into a new apartment, my place, with no ghosts of the past haunting the walls. I started traveling more, taking that solo trip I had always put off when I was married. I even went skydiving, because why the hell not? Jason still checked in on me like an overprotective guard dog, but I loved him for it. Mom and Dad, well, things were still complicated with them, but at least they never pushed me to make amends with Haley. They knew better now. And love, I wasn't in a rush. I went on a few dates, flirted here and there, but I was finally at peace with being on my own, because for the first time in years, I was truly happy. Not because of someone else, not because of a relationship, but because I had finally chosen myself. And that was enough.